When your rib broke, your petals lost their hope. You wouldn't bloom when rooted in grief, and so your petals fell to me in a dream. My breath holds your tragedy, and so it dies in its remembrance. I need the love from your heart, but with your heart unguarded by your ribs, it flows to me and all of your orphans. The door opened, and the screams had echoed. You were crushed and broken, leaving all beauty in the depths of sorrow. Oceans lost their pearls as the earth had shaken. Heaven's hands raised themselves, waiting for an embrace. You blinked, only hoping that when you reopened your sight, Muhammad would be your next gaze. Like a dream, but this time permanently. When you had fallen breathless, your sweet children were left motherless. But were you left childless? No. Were you left childless? No, we know your tears were quenched by Muhammad, and we were happy that your heart had finally settled. But Fatima, we were left with only petals, your children. Fatima, we were only left with petals, your children. Why has our rose been hidden? My heart flutters when we weep in your falling. It hurts, but how sharp was the nail and how treacherous of the door. Entities came to you with your death in their hands. But how sweet did death taste knowing Muhammad was waiting. How sweet did death taste knowing Muhammad was waiting. When our rose fell, our hearts still with God had wept. Beneath our sadness we slept, and so when God breathed into our souls, our instinct was to lament. Gold, diamond, and pearl had gained in value. Gold, diamond, and pearl had gained in value because they were the closest thing to you. How sweet would it be if the winds today would bring your scent? I promise you it would fulfill me. Our lives were born and had died many times, but when it died with your death, it grieved like rock and erosion. It just overtook us with your impact of emotion. Who knew that a death could cause other deaths? Who knew that one death could cause other deaths? What struck Imam Ali's heart more than your falling? A sword struck his head, and still it's nothing. His heart's been bleeding for a sight of you. Eyes hate to exist in a world without you. My limbs need your cuddle. How did your children continue on? Did they realize that it was blissful for you, that it settled your sadness and aching? Did they realize that it was blissful for you to die, that it settled your sadness and aching? Though with you fell a son, Muhammad was the first he had met. The beauty in that makes ease rest a bit. But when we remember the harshness of the door, we can't help but shed tears that sway the earth's rotation. Understanding your grievances can't happen in the confines of logic. Understanding your grievances can't happen within the confines of logic. You're beyond. You are faith, a piece of history that's never withered because your sadness and death were both unforgettable. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Deepening in my eardrum are her sorrowful screams. Muhsin sways in the depths of them as an orphan left only in dreams. Orphans left by a mother whose purity embarrassed the clearest of waters as her children learn to swim. But the world won't keep them afloat. The world won't keep them afloat. It'll bring its hate, its burdens, its harshest of nights because Fatima won't be there to stand in the way of the door. Doors of oppression have opened to her family. Anguish of the heart they'll have to endure. Prevention of this depended upon her rib. This single bone has brought a warrior and its unborn child to a grave that shakes in despair. Muhsin cries and his mother dies. Ali sits helpless and the children motherless. The sun is lightless. The sun is lightless and so the moon is restless. Everything sends their goodbyes as from her rib. Everything shies. Show me a sky that hasn't wept for her. Show me a sky that hasn't wept for her. Show me a graveyard that doesn't yearn for her body. What is it that keeps our sanity in place? Is it the reminder that Fatima left her discomfort and she is buried? What is it that keeps our sanity in place? Is it the reminder that Fatima leaves her discomfort and she is buried? Yes, in a grave absent from all distress and all worries. In today's nights with no grief of Fatima to hold, I weep. In today's nights with no grief of Fatima to hold, I weep. All I have is her rib and the restless memory of the door and wall. Today, every door weeps in repentance and every wall collapses in her pain. All fire burns away and every rib remembers its origin. Wombs give offspring in light of Muhsin's demise. Wombs give offspring in light of Muhsin's demise. All that had fallen that night from a crush between two fates came to me in a dream asking if I had seen nature mirror its tragedy, and all I could picture is the fate of a raindrop once it's struck with thunder and falls to no embrace. But then I pondered over Fatima's embraceless fall and remembered If Fatima fell to no embrace, it's the world that's left alone and cold, not Fatima. If Fatima fell to no embrace, it's the world that's left alone and cold, not Fatima. Let all lands yearn for care and comfort, for maybe within its dirt she'd be sleeping. Grief remains in our memory of her. It lives sufficiently as it has billions of hearts to live in, because no one knows Fatima's tragedy and leaves it ungrieved. No one knows Fatima's tragedy and leaves it ungrieved. What was left in the shadows of the night? What was left in the shadows of the night? The great winds were left bereaved, yet they care, but they were built for a cold. The great winds were left bereaved, yet they were built for the cold. Thunder's ears had snapped upon hearing her screams. Everything is left in her remembrance. Weeping and shattered is every heart upon hearing her tragedy. But nonetheless, by her lion, Ali, indeed, everything and everyone was left. Ali and the world and Ali, they all mourn and wail in her absence. The Lady of Light leaves us shattered and broken. So the sun asks how it can continue to give. The Lady of Light leaves us shattered and broken, so the sun asks how it can continue to give. And so Ali responds. So Ali responds to the sun with a pained voice and says, if I continue, you continue. If I continue, you continue. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.